Janet Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow with another edition of Healthy Living. So today we are going to make some jam cookies. That's kind of a funny backstory to that, because when I was experimenting with these recipes and I called my family down to taste them, the J turned into a D, so I'll let you figure that one out because I use auto text. Anyway, jam cookies. So I've already used my buckwheat, turned it into flour for you. Remember, buckwheat is an herb. I have in 1 2/3 cups of buckwheat flour, and I have ground up my organic almonds, so I have 1 2/3 cups of organic almonds. I have 1/2 pound of butter here, or 1 cup, and I let it sit out for a while so it's nice and soft, and it works easily into the recipe. It's my oven telling me it's hot. I also have 2/3 of a cup of Coconut Secret crystals. Now, the last time I said, you know what I'm talking about, they all wrote in and said, what is your coconut secret? We don't know. We can't make it without your secret. You're withholding information from us. So, Coconut Secret crystals. There you go. 2/3 of a cup. That's going in. And I have 1 teaspoon of sea salt. That's going in. 1 teaspoon of organic vanilla. That's going in. I'm going to mix that together before I add in my 2 eggs. So, see how nice and soft the butter is. It's a very simple recipe. Basically, when I make desserts, I like to have them be a food and something that nourishes your body, your mind, and your soul, because it is nice to have sweet things, have sweetness in your life, be able to absorb it. When these are done without the jam, which we will be adding after they're baked, each cookie is about 6 carbs. So it's very low, and as I said, it's nutritious carbs. So you want to keep that in mind. But I want to get the butter mixed in before I put the eggs. They're kind of a fun cookie to make. They're very easy. Now, I've done these a variety of ways through the years, and I used to put the jam in before I baked them, but then the jam would run all over the cookie sheet. So then I waited until they came out of the oven and they were hot, and I put the jam in, and they still ran all over the place. So then I did it when they were cool, and I found out that worked better. However, for storage, it doesn't work that well. So what I do is I only put the jam in when it's time to eat, and then I can put in whatever kind of jam I want. And sometimes people have special requests, so I suggest that to you as well. Bake your cookies. Of course, you can eat them hot with a little jam, but if you're going to store them, I suggest you store them without the jam and then fill them when you get ready to serve. So you can see how nicely the butter is mixing in. And once that's almost done, then we're going to add those last 2 eggs to give us a little bit more liquid and finish it up. That's a pretty solid cookie dough. And we're not going to spray our cookie sheet because the butter in the cookies already have enough oil in them, so your cookies will not stick. We're going to bake them at 375 Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes until they get lightly browned on the bottom. Well, if you have a mixer, you can do that too, but I've talked to you about that before. For myself, by the time I clean up my mixer, I just as soon just make everything in the bowl. Now, in order to make them 6 carbs, you don't want to make giant cookies. I do about a nice sized teaspoon, and we're going to indent it in the middle of the ball. So, I'll just make them about like this. And then after I get all my little balls on, I just go through and I push it out down like this so there'll be a place for the jam when they're done. You can see I've got about 42 cookies out of this batch. They will not spread a lot, so I put them pretty close together. I put a nice little fingerprint in it and kind of built the sides up because that's where the jam's going to be. When they come out and they're hot, you can also put in a little piece of chocolate if you would like to do that as well, or chocolate and jam if you want both. So for now, we're just going to open this up. The oven is heated, again, 375, and I'm going to set the timer for about 10 minutes. And it usually takes somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes for these to bake until it's just kind of lightly browned on the bottom. Oops. There we go. I'll be back and check them in a few minutes. Timer just went off. Let's pull them out and see what they look like. Okay, you can see how they've swollen up a little bit, but they haven't really spread out too much. So, let's take a look at the bottom and see how they look. Oh yeah, those are nicely browned. So those are done. I'll just put them over here. And remember, because of the type of flour, with all the nuts that are in there, a little bit more on the delicate side. So if you're not careful, you will wind up with a bunch of crumbs. So my suggestion is to go a little slower. Remember, while they're on your baking sheet, they will continue to cook a little bit. So you're better off to take them out a little bit underdone because they will keep cooking or baking. And you can see I have some of our family's favorite jams set out. We have bilberry, which I like, blueberry, and strawberry. And like I said, now if you wanted, you could put 2 or 3 chocolate chips in. You could put a little jam on the bottom or on top of the chocolate chips if you want the chocolate to melt. It's like everything else, you can kind of just use your imagination. Also put some of these in the freezer, but again you have to be careful because of crumbs, so you might want to put a layer of wax paper in between if you decide to freeze a few, or you can always just make half of a batch. You can see I poked it and it kind of broke that apart a little bit. Alright, so let me just show you how nice this looks. This is the bilberry. So you can just take a little bit and again use as much or as little as you want. And fill a couple of the little wells there. And this is the strawberry. And you can see they're nice, they're fun. Just a fun little cookie to do, but you can see it kind of brightens it up, and that's a nice little company cookie to serve. So it's nice to have on hand. They're very easy. So I want to thank you for joining me once again. Janet Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow, expansions.com, healthy living. Enjoy.